Right, we are on lesson 13, which is going to talk about the unit rate as the scale factor. Last lesson we talked about how in scale drawings there have to be proportional relationship between all of the sides and their dimensions. So now we're going to talk about what happens when we use something called a scale factor and what it is. Example 1 says Jake created a simple game on his computer and shared it with his friends to play. They were instantly hooked, and the popularity of his game spread so quickly that Jake wanted to create a distinctive icon so that players could easily identify his game. He drew a simple sketch, and from the sketch, he created stickers to promote the game, but Jake wasn't quite sure if the stickers were proportional to his original sketch. Okay, so the first thing it says is to find the constant of proportionality. Before I do that, I'm just going to highlight my corresponding sides or my corresponding parts. So I'm just going to use some different colors. So I have my front side of 1 inch corresponds to the front side of the fully green section over there. 1 inch corresponds to 2. 7/8 corresponds to 1 3/4, and 0.75 corresponds to 1.5. So I'm going to take those and just put them into my table. So I have 1 inch to 2, 1 to 2, 0.75 to 1.5, and 7/8 to 1 3/4. Now let's just remind ourselves, I'm going to label alphabetical order, so X then Y, left to right. So my original sketch is X, my sticker is Y. So remember, when we talk about the constant of proportionality, that's K, and K equals Y divided by X. So I'm going to divide all of my ordered pairs here. So I should have 1 divided by 2, 2 divided by 1, which is 2, 2 divided by 1, 1.5 divided by 0.75, which is also going to give me 2, and last 1 3/4 divided by 7/8. And if you ever want to change those to decimals, if they are nice decimals, you can go ahead and put those like that in the fraction, or you can leave them as is. When you divide, this should also give you 2. So that means that K equals 2. Since all the unit rates are the same, the sticker is indeed proportional. So we're going to say, yes, all the unit rates are the same. Okay. The scale factor, and I'm just going to highlight that, the scale factor can be calculated from the ratio of any length in the scale drawing to its corresponding length in the actual picture. The constant of proportionality. What is the scale factor? So the scale factor is actually the same exact thing as our constant of proportionality. So if it's proportional, it's a scale drawing, and if it's a scale drawing, it has a scale factor. And that scale factor is just our constant of proportionality, which is K. So in this specific problem above, our scale factor, or K, was 2. When we talk about scale factor and to find scale factor, we're always going to think about dividing the drawing by the actual. So in our last lesson, we talked about new divided by old from the original to the copy. Now we're going to talk about drawing divided by actual, which is very similar to how we were talking about it before. Right, let's go on to the next page. So our scale factor can then be calculated from our ratio to its corresponding length. The scale factor represents our unit rate and our constant of proportionality. With our scale factor and with our scale drawings, we talked about 2 types of scale drawings. One is an enlargement and one is a reduction. If our scale factor has or is greater than 1, then that is when we have an enlargement. If our scale factor is less than 1, that is when we get a reduction or a smaller version of what we started with. So let's take a look below. This corresponds or goes with our very first example. So now he is making an app icon, which is drawn over here to the right. So before I go forward, I'm going to just kind of take my highlighters and highlight again. So I had pink in the front, green, blue, and my orange, just to help me when I go to put this in the table. So 1 corresponds to 1/2, 1 to 1/2, 0.75 to 3/8, and 7/8 to 7/16. It says, what is the constant of proportionality? Well, constant of proportionality, k equals y divided by x. I'm going to show my work for all 4 of these fractions. So I'm going to have 1/2 divided by 1, 1/2 divided by 1. So I have to just make sure that they're all the same. 3/8 divided by 0.75, and 7/16 divided by 7/8. And both of these values should be 0.5 or 1/2. It says, what is the scale factor? Remember, the scale factor is the same thing as my constant of proportionality. So that means that my scale factor is 1/2. Is the app an enlargement or a reduction? Well, I'm going to take 1/2 and compare it to the number 1. 1/2 is less than 1, so this means that it got smaller. It is a reduction. Okay, let's try another example. Example 2. Joanna wants to create a drawing of the Colombian flag shown below. If she uses a scale factor of 3 to create a scale drawing of the flag, will her drawing be an enlargement or a reduction of the original picture? I'm going to highlight my key words here. So it says, if she uses a scale factor of 3. So if my scale factor is 3, I'm going to compare 3 to 1. 3 is larger than 1, so this would be an enlargement. Now, when they tell me my scale factor, once I know it, since I have that, and since I know things about my constant of proportionality, I can actually use that scale factor to find missing dimensions. So let's try that out. If the dimensions of the flag are 1.5 inches by 1 inch, what would the dimensions of the drawing be? I'm just going to highlight 1.5 inches by 1 inch. Okay, so let's just take a look at what we know. We know that k equals 3. We also know that k is y divided by x, and when we talk about scale factor, it's drawing divided by the actual. When I have a constant of proportionality, I can also write that in the form of an equation, y equals k times x. So I'm going to use my equation to find the missing dimensions. So I'm going to write this equation with my specific scale factor, so y equals 3 times x. And now it is asking me for the dimensions of the drawing. Well, drawing is the y variable, so I'm going to be solving for y. I'm going to plug in the actual dimensions that they gave me one at a time. So 3 times 1.5, 3 times 1.5. If I go ahead and do that in my calculator, you should get 4.5 inches. I'm also going to find my other side. So 3 times 1. Well, 3 times 1 is just 3. So my new dimensions would be 4.5 inches by 3 inches. Exercise 2. If she uses a scale factor of 1/2, will her drawing be an enlargement or reduction of the original drawing? Right, go ahead and pause the video, and I'd like you to do parts A and parts B. When you're all set, unpause the video and check your work. Okay, part A. The scale factor is 1/2. So if I compare 1/2 to 1, 1/2 is less than 1, so this is a reduction. And the new dimensions of her drawing. So we're taking the dimensions from the problem up above, so that was 1.5 inches by 1 inch. And I'm going to use my new formula, this time with a scale factor or a k value of 1/2. So I'm going to have y equals 1/2 times x. And I'm solving for the drawing, so drawing is the y variable. So I should have 1/2 times 1.5. Which should give me 0.75. And 1/2 times 1, which is 1/2 or 0.5. So my new dimensions would be 0.75 times by 0.5. Right, let's try another example. Example 3 says, your family recently had a family portrait taken, and your aunt asks you to take a picture of the portrait using your phone and send it to her. If the original portrait is 3 feet by 3 feet and the scale factor is 1/18, what would the size of the portrait be on your phone? Right, our scale factor is 1/18, and the dimensions are 3 feet by 3 feet. So we know that k equals 1/18, and therefore our equation is y equals 1/18 times x. Now, since this is 3 feet by 3 feet, I'm only going to show my work for one of them, since they would be the exact same, since they're the same dimension. So I'm going to have y equals 1/18 times 3. I'm going to go ahead and put that in my calculator, and I should get 1/6. So this should be 1/6 by 1/6. Right, exercise 3. John is building his daughter a dollhouse that is a miniature model of their house. The front of their house has a circular window with a diameter of 5 feet. If the scale factor for the model house is 1/30, what would the diameter of the window be in the drawing? Go ahead and pause the video and try this one on your own. When you're all set, go ahead and unpause and check your work. Right, my dimension is 5 feet. And my scale is 1/30. So that means k equals 1/30. And my equation I'm going to use is y equals 1/30 times x. I am finding the drawing, so that's y. So I'm going to have y equals 1/30 times 5. You should get, coincidentally, 1/6 again. So the diameter of the window in the drawing is 1/6. Okay, that's all for this lesson. Good luck on your homework.